Hello, you are listening to a pocket full of stories, all the original stories by yours truly. The last segment was not as exciting, but it went well. Finn was trying to look for a way to run away, but he could not find it. Meanwhile, he got to learn a little bit more about Iris and her mother, Violet, and so on. He was looking when to make a run for it, but the timing was never right. So he decided that after they went to Diri Biti, he would subtly put a excuse and then run away. He was not excited at all by the things that are going on. He wanted a little road trip, but he did not want to be dragged into some sort of fairy tale, which is really hard to believe for everybody. So let's get started and let's see where this adventure of the Marked City is going to take us. Iris and Finn took a taxi and made their way to Diri Biti. Iris gave the directions and the taxi driver was very understanding. Looked human, but let's just say things are not human anymore. Finn was fidgeting uncomfortably while Iris looked at him. She chuckled a little and asked him why he was being so uncomfortable. Finn said that he was not used to the fact that there were weird-looking people around him, and definitely not the fact that they were literally in a taxi driven by two people. Iris said, "Finn, seriously, they are just dwarfs. They need two people to drive a car. And they are smaller than the dwarfs. They are still growing. It takes time for them to reach down." It took a lot of effort from Finn to not gasp and either laugh in exclamation, but he preferred to leave it at that. Moving on, they reached Diri Biti. Now, fun fact about Diri Biti, it is a place where people go to get to know about their future, but they also go there to know about their past and present. Past is not just your life, but there might be a possibility that you are a reincarnation. There were not a lot of people because they wanted it to be more quiet. People had to take permission and people had to take permission to go and appointment. Sorry, I'm so sorry, I just could not remember the word appointment. Okay, people had to take an appointment to actually to actually go and see the oracles. Now, it was not just one oracle. They had like multiple. They had 3 oracles. The 3 are the main, and then it depends that they see that a prophet is born somewhere, and they would try to bring them in with and teach them how to foresee future and everything. So it works like that. They are more of like teachers, but they live forever. It's a huge different story, but if you want me to tell you that, you can definitely tell me that you want to learn more about it. Anyway, so Iris and Finn went inside, and they had to wait for a while because they did not take the appointment. Iris was not prepared about this at all because everything happened very spontaneously. But luckily, she had enough money on her from her mom that they could go around a little till their time was there. So it was quite an evening when it was finally time to go for their session. Now, I think it was 7, probably 6:30 or 7, that they got in, and they talked that they took an appointment for this late, and they were the people who were looking for an oracle, specifically who would look into identification. So the manager was a bit curious to look at it because he knew Iris, and Iris had come by. He asked why did Iris needed to see an oracle, because she knows about what would be happening to her. She did not. Violet did, but Iris just said that but Iris had been there because whoever are born in that area are supposed to go there. It's kind of like Aadhaar card, identification card they make for you, but verbally it's a long and different process for them, and it's entirely their process. And Finn was as confused as you and I are right now, because trust me, if I could, I would definitely have asked Iris about this. So moving on, Iris was, excuse me for a moment. So Iris said that yes, she has been there, but she wanted her friend Finn to look into his future, his past, and his present. He looked at Finn and he wasn't very convinced because all he saw was white hair. I mean, sure that there are weird looking creatures coming over from time to time, but he was just not convinced enough. But yet he let them go because still it was Iris. I mean, another creature brought somebody there, and he just wanted to give them a benefit of the doubt. Now, if you think who is this manager, they are not any supernatural creatures. They are just humans, but with an ability to see people's aura. They all have a special gift. Like, one can see the aura, one can see, or one can read your thoughts. It's kind of like superpowers, but not exactly. Yeah, that. Anyway. Moving on, Finn and Iris were taken to a small cabin type of room, and they knocked on it. They heard a come in, and then they walked right in. Iris stood at the far end of the room in a very dark corner, because if she was standing there, somehow her and his life would be read together, and that would be quite inconvenient for both of them, because then they would not be able to figure out who is what and what is going on. So he stood there. Finn stood there, and he just stood there. He just did not know what to do. To talk, to not to talk, to say anything, not to say anything, what to do. So Oracle said that you need to ask a question. And Finn said that I don't know what to ask you. I am not sure what is going on here, but all I know that there is something different about me. He said what Iris had been telling him. Oracle got that. Oracle said, you don't feel anything different, you just feel alone. You are repeating the words of the girl who has brought you here. Iris looked down at her feet in embarrassment, because she somehow has been feeding his mind by saying that he is different than everybody else. Finn realized that he should make up his mind, and he should gather up his thoughts and ask if it's what is his past. Was he always an orphan, or what is going on? Why he was treated differently? All those negative thoughts, all those deep down hidden thoughts came to his mind, and he finally asked, Dear Oracle, do tell me what I think is that true? Oracle just smiled and said, your past was dreadful, and so will be your future. You are connected to things which you do not expect to, and so is that girl in the corner. I will just say one thing to help you out, to look for the journey about you, is that you belonged here. You started here, but you ended up somewhere, and now you will end up somewhere else. So he got confused. Finn asked, what do you mean I started out here? Oracle stood up from her chair and walked up to him. She walked very close to him. She was just a breath away from him and looked at him up and down. She raised her hand to his hair and touched them. They shone so bright that it could blind anybody. Not literally shine, but little sparkle. It's a figure of speech. He was shocked. He could see himself because the other oracles were present there, and they had brought out the mirror. He could see the oracle playing with his hair. He could see Iris in the corner, staring with wide eyes, while the other oracles held on to the mirror. He saw his hair glittering and sparkling and shining in ways he did not know. He gasped loudly. Finally, he found air to breathe, and that made the oracle drop her hand. He did hear a crack somewhere in the room, but he was not sure where. There was nothing broken. There was not anything there that could crack or make such a sound. He walked backwards and ran out of the room. He was too scared. Iris was about to follow him when the oracle stopped her. They said, "Look out for the boy. You both are entwined. Just always protect him, or at least stay by his side. Things are going to be very difficult, child." And one of the oracle walked up to her, gave her a scroll, and walked back to the room. She stared at the scroll, but then ran out to follow Finn because she was worried he might lose his way. Finn was sitting in the managerial room and breathing very heavily, with manager standing over his head giving him water. Iris sat down beside him and asked if he was okay. Finn said, "I have no idea what just happened there, but I refuse to believe anything that happened there. I refuse to believe everything you are telling me right now. I refuse to believe whatever is going on right now. I might be in a coma for all I know. You might be just some imagination I've been playing with. I might be even dead and I'm just going through some phases of death. I don't believe this. So please, I just want to go home." Iris was startled because she did not know how to answer that. She was scared, she was worried, but she knew that something was different about this time. She held on to the scroll, but she followed Finn out. He was walking towards the main street that led them back, that would lead them back to the city, back to the place where he lived, where he worked, back to the place where she met him. She held on to his hand and stopped him and said, "Please don't go. Let's go back to my place and talk about things. Or better, let's sit here in that shade over there by the tree, and let's just talk about what happened, and we can see what this scroll is for. They told me to give it to you. I mean, it was an indication, of course, but I think this belongs to you now." They sat down near the bench, near the tree on the bench. What is wrong with me? Okay, they sat down and she held on to his hands. She told him, "Look, I know this is your first time. It happens to everybody. Every one of us has to go through something like this. None of us have had these kind of things. They were plainly showing you what you are. Must be something about you. I've said this before and I will say it again. This is not just some gut feeling or looking at your white hair and saying it, but I think it belongs. I think this feeling is about this place. I think this is where you belong, and I think this is where you have to stay. Just for a while. Just take a vacation or something. Stay here, explore this place. Maybe you will find your purpose. Maybe you will find where you started," like they said. They were being plainly blank about it. You have to fill in those blanks. It's as simple as that. I am here to help you. He looked down. He was scared, but he finally thought that this was a good idea. He nodded. He said, "Sure, of course. I will stay here just for a week to try to figure out what they meant. But after that, I am getting out of here and I will never ever come back. And if you guys have some kind of juju which helps me forget that I was ever in this place, do that. I would readily accept that." They just sat down, they were talking, but they just forgot something, that there was something on their hand, and it was a scroll that belonged to both of them and was going to take them on a long ride from here. Well, I guess that's it for today. That is a very long episode. I could have went on and on and on and could have just finished the story, but no. We have a lot to explore now. There is a lot on stake. There is a lot to think about. I think I can say that now is the time things are going to start taking twists and turns. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to me. You can follow me on my Twitter and my Instagram. My user ID is Be Like Brinda until I figure out a new Instagram ID, of course. For Twitter, you can follow me on Be Like Brinda. The user ID is spelled as BEELIKEBRINDA. Be Like Brinda. And you can be my Patreons on my Patreon. My Patreon user ID is BEELIKEBRINDA, Be Like Brinda as well. You can join in my tiers and get exclusive content there. I also post and make Sims 4 videos, gameplay, which I play on Twitch and then I upload it on YouTube. I will try to go live on YouTube as well, but it's all a work in progress. So I might figure out a way of turning my audios into videos and then upload it on YouTube. So new things are going to come, other things are going to stay, things are going to twist and turn even in life. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to me. Please wait for a new episode next week. I would see you listening to me next week. Bye.